So hello everyone, welcome to the week 8 of this course. In the last week we had started our discussions on semantics, and we discussed a particular method for capturing semantics, that was distribution semantics. So how we can use the distributional patterns of words in a corpus to extract meanings out of that. And we said that how we can compare two words to find out if they are more similar than another pair of words. So in this week what we will be doing, we will be taking another approach for semantics, that is by using the connections that we see among items in a lexicon. And that's where we will also see how to use a very important resource, that is WordNet, for extracting meanings between words. So the topic for this week is lexical semantics. So how can we define lexical semantics? So as I'm saying, what we are going to do in this topic, we will see some entries in a lexicon, and we will try to identify what is the relation between these entities. So we will have some particular set of relations, and we will try to define these relations among these entities. So in that way we can define this field. So lexical semantics is concerned with the systematic meaning related connections among lexical items. So I'll have a set of lexical items in my lexicon, and I'll try to find out what are the connections between any two items. And we will also see what are the internal meaning related structure of individual lexical items. So what you are seeing here, we are now focusing our attention to something called a lexical item. So what is a lexical item? So lexical item, there is another term for that is called lexeme. So this is nothing but an individual entry in my lexicon. So here I am talking about connections among different lexical items, and what is a single entity, it will call a lexeme, and we will mostly be talking about in terms of lexemes. Now, so if we try to understand intuitively what would be there in an entry, in a lexeme entry, what are the things that I need to keep in an entry. So because I am also talking about the meaning, if a word has multiple meanings, it should not be called as a single lexeme, it should be called as two different lexemes. So when I talk about lexeme, what are the things I need to have? I need to have what is the form, so how do I spell that, how do I pronounce that, and also something that says what is the meaning of this particular entry. So these are the two important components that make a lexeme. So I can think of lexeme as a pairing of some orthographic and phonological form, that is how do you write the lexeme, how do you pronounce that, and with some sort of symbolic meaning representation. Okay, so something that might be a definition of the lexeme, or something that explains what this stands for. So when I talk about orthographic form and phonological form, they are the form part of the lexeme, and then I have a science part of the lexeme that talks about the meaning of the lexeme. So if you have seen in various dictionaries, that's how the entries are also defined. So let me take one example. So this is an example from the dictionary that comes with Mac. So you are having as such a single word like verge, but it appears as three different lexemes. So you are having verge 1, verge 2, and verge 3. Okay, and do I see that pair, the form part and the meaning part? So form part is given on top for each entry. So I have the spelling, so that is the same for all three. Then I have the pronunciation also. Okay. Then there are certain descriptions about this entry that correspond to what is the meaning of this entry. For example, you might have the lexical category of that. So it's a noun, it's a verb. And then there is some meaning like an edge or border, they come down to the verge of the lake. So also given an example of how it is used, and some history of the words are also provided. So when I talk about lexeme, that's what I need. I need a form part that can be the spelling of the lexeme plus the pronunciation and the meaning part. Once I have done that, now I can try to establish relations between various lexemes in my lexicon, or each lexical items in my lexicon. So now, what are the various meaning related facts you can extract from the way the lexemes are defined in my dictionary? So let's take some examples from this American Heritage Dictionary. So this is 1985 version, and what we are seeing here, we are seeing four different entities here: right, left, red, and blood. There are 4 different lexemes in this dictionary, and some meaning of these entities are also provided. So for example, right is defined as located near the right hand, especially being on the right when facing the same direction as the observer, and left is defined as located near to the side of the body than the right. So these are some definitions provided to these lexemes. Now, what is something that you can immediately some point that you can immediately see from these definitions? So one thing that you see is that the word right has been defined in terms of right. Yes, so it's some sort of circular definition if you say it in that way. And also lexemes are defined in terms of other lexemes. Okay, so like here, red, the color of blood or a ruby, and blood is defined the red liquid. Okay, so blood is defined in terms of red, and red is defined in terms of blood. So you see that there is some sort of circularity involved here in the way they are defined in the lexicon. But even if that is the case, you can still extract some sort of meanings. For example, if you see the definitions of right and left, you can easily find out that they are somewhat related. Their meanings are very much related, and you might also say that they might be in some sort of altercation with respect to each other. Okay, so what do we see here? So the entries are descriptions of lexemes in terms of other lexemes, and from the definitions I can see that right and left are some similar sort of lexemes, and they are in some sort of alternation or opposition. Also from these definitions we can see that red is some sort of color, and it can be applied to blood as well as ruby, and blood is some liquid. So you might extract some other facts about the lexemes also from these entities. Now in general, so when I am talking about identifying what is the connections of between different entities, what are the various formal connections that have been defined, or what are the relations that we can study. So let us have a look at some of the relations. So these are some very important relations that are established between word meanings and forms. So like homonyms, polysemy, synonymy, antonymy, hypernymy, and meronymy. And you might have heard of some of these terms like polysemy, which is very popular, and similarly synonymy and antonymy. So these you might already have heard. So let us try to formally define what are these relations, and when do I say that two entities in my lexicon are connected by a particular relation from one of these. So how do I define homonymy? So homonymy I define as a relation that holds between words that have the same form but unrelated meanings. So what does that mean? So we have defined an individual entity in my lexicon as having a form part and a meaning part. So now if two entities have the same form part but the meaning part is different, then they will call the homonyms. Now can you think of an example of two such, or a single word that has same form but two different meanings? So simple example might be like the word bank. Bank can be for the financial institution bank, or it can be some river bank. Similarly bat, it can be for the cricket bat, or it can be the bat as a mammal. So what you are seeing here, they are having the same form but different meanings. So these are two examples that we talked about. Now, so there is one important thing that you should remember here. So we are saying that they have the same form but different meanings, but we have defined form to be both orthographic form and phonological form. So it might happen that in certain cases the orthographic form is same and meaning is different, or in some cases the phonological form is same and meaning is different. So they are called homonyms, but there are specific terms for both of these, and these are called homographs if they have the same orthography, and homophones if they have the same phonological form. So let us see some example. So homophones are the words that have the same pronunciation but different spellings, okay, and different meanings also. So example here are right and right. They have the same phonological form, they are written differently, and their meanings are different. Same with peace and peace. And homographs would be the lexemes that have the same orthographic form. They would have maybe the different pronunciation and different meaning altogether. So, for example, the two different usage of bass, one in the sense of fish, another as in the sense of a guitar or music. Now why do we need to worry about these homonyms? So, we will see what are the different NLP applications where they create a problem. So, let us take this example of text to speech. So, do you think these homophones or homographs would create a problem for text to speech? So, what do we do in text to speech? In text to speech, you would have a text content written. It can be a sentence where there are multiple words together, and you need to speak that out. Now, why the homophones or homographs can create a problem for that? Now, think of the same word that has a particular spelling, but it is pronounced in two different ways, in two different meanings. So, unless you know what is the particular sense is being implied, you cannot pronounce it properly. Okay. So, if the orthographic form is same, but the phonological forms are different, that creates a problem for text to speech. Now, it can also create a problem for information retrieval. So why the problem for information retrieval? So, suppose you are looking for the term bat, okay, and by bat you imply the mammal, but suppose the system gives you a cricket bat as the desired or as the pageage that you would look for, and immediately it will not match your information need. So, what would happen if the same word has multiple meanings? If you are searching for that word, because you are only specifying the orthographic form, it may not be clear to the search engine what is the meaning that you are looking for. So, this also creates a problem for the search engines, and it might be a problem for the speech recognition also. For example, the perfect homophones, where you have the same phonological form but different way of writing that. So, suppose you are writing to, suppose you are speaking to, so it may not be clear which of the three words should be the correct interpretation, whether it is TO2 or TWO2 or TWO2. Okay, so, these are also problematic for speech recognition. So, these are some of the problems where they create problem. Now, so suppose the systems have to deal with that. So, how do they find out when I am talking about to, is it TO or is it TWO or TWO? And for that they have to use various information from the context in which this is spoken, or something about the particular user who is speaking, and so on. And some of the problems of this kind we will also deal in this week in the topic of word sense disambiguation, that if a word has multiple meanings, how do I use the context to identify what is the particular meaning is being used here. So, now coming to the second relation, that is polysemy. So, polysemy and homonymy might be confused with at certain times. So, polysemy is also the same sort of relation, that is a word has multiple meanings, but the same form. But the difference here is these meanings are very related and not unrelated that we had in the case of homonyms. So, in case of homonyms, two words have same form, but very different meanings. For polysemy, they have the same form and slightly related meanings, okay, not very similar and not very different also. So, what is the example? Let us see, let us focus on the word bank here in the two sentences. In the first sentence, we see the bank was constructed in 1875 out of local red brick, and second one is the sentence, I withdrew the money from the bank. So, as such, if you look at these sentences, you will feel that so they are the same word bank is being used for the same sense. But if you look closely, you find there is some slight difference between the meanings of the word bank. So, what is the difference here? In the first sentence, the bank is used as some sort of building that belongs to a financial institution. Okay. On the other hand, the second sentence, it belongs to the financial institution itself. And that sort of slight gradation in meaning is there in many such words. For example, let us look at these two sentences. Heavy snow caused the roof of the school to collapse, and the school hired more teachers this year than ever before. So again, the same word school is being used, and as such they look the same sense, but again if you look closely, this refers to the building of a school, and this refers to the institution school as such, or the administration. So and these relations are quite systematic. Okay, so for example, if you look at these words, school, university, hospital, church, supermarket, all of these can be seen as the building as such or the institution, and that's why the two meanings would be slightly related. They are not very different and not exactly the same. There are some other examples, like you can have the connection between the author and the works of author. So if I say Jane Austen wrote Emma, so I am talking about the author. On the other hand, if I say I really love Jane Austen, so what do I mean is that I really love the works of the author. So author and works of author again appear in some sort of slightly different meaning. So that is observed by this term polysemy. Similarly, animal versus meat. So when you talk about chicken, it can be animal or meat. Similarly, sometimes it can be tree versus fruit, and this kind of relation. Like if I say plums, so if in this sentence plums have beautiful blossoms, plums generally refer to the tree, but here I ate a preserved plum, plum would be a fruit. So again there are very slight distinction between the meanings here. Now in linguistics, so suppose I want to distinguish or identify if the same word is being used in two different sentences, is it being used in slightly different meanings, okay, or is the word polysemous somehow. So what is one particular linguistic test that you can do, and this test is called Jigme test. And what is the idea? Suppose the same word has been used in two different sentences. Now try to compose a single sentence where the word has been used only once and the two different usages have been captured by some sort of conjunction, and see if this sentence is making sense or it is looking weird. If this sentence is making sense, okay, so probably this word has the same sense in both the sentences, but if the sentence looks weird, then you would say okay, they are polysemous. So here's an example. So I have the same word serve being used in two different sentences. So which of these flights serve breakfast, and Dutch Midwest Express serve Philadelphia. Now I want to find out if there is some polysemy involved in the usage of the word serve here. So what I would do, I would combine these two usages together in a single sentence. So what can be one sentence you can compose out of this? So you can compose like Dutch Midwest Express serve breakfast in Philadelphia, okay, and immediately you will say okay, serving breakfast in Philadelphia, putting them together in the same sentence looks weird. Okay, you can put them in two different sentences, okay, but putting them in same sentence looks weird. So and you can say that, so these two usages of the word serve are polysemous. So here Dutch Midwest Express serve breakfast in San Jose. If you put them together, it sounds weird. So you will say there are two different senses of the word serve. So that's what we have covered. Homonymy, polysemy. Remember, they are very it may not be easy to distinguish among the two. In polysemy they are quite related, in homonymy they are very different. In general, if you might also in general you might say that the word is polysemous to denote that the word has multiple senses. Now the next relation that we will see is synonymy. What is synonymy? Two words that have very similar meanings but different orthographic and phonological form. So examples are like couch and sofa. They have same meaning, different words, big and large, automobile, car, water, H2O. Okay. So now what is important here is these two words have similar meanings, but probably they are not substitutable in all the contexts. Okay. For example, in scientific context, you might want to write H2O but not water. But when you are talking in general terms, you would use the term water for asking you to give you water. You will not ask to give you H2O. Okay. So although the meanings might be very similar, depending on the context, you use one word or the other. So as such, we can call two lexemes as synonyms if they can be successfully substituted for each other in all situations, but this is not actually the case. You cannot, in general, you cannot substitute them in all the places. You can probably do them in most of the places, but not everywhere. So now let's take an example. So I take two words, big and large, and let's see these sentences. How big is that plane? I can also write how large is that plane. So would I be flying on a large or small plane? So with the word plane, I can use the word either big or large, and both are substitutable here. So in that sense, they look like perfect synonyms. But can I always replace big for large or large for big in all the contexts? Let's see this example. Suppose I have this sentence, Miss Nelson, for instance, became a kind of big sister to Benjamin. Okay, and suppose I replace big by large here, and the sentence comes out to be Miss Nelson, for instance, became a kind of large sister to Benjamin. And immediately you can see that this usage of the word large immediately starts looking weird. Okay, and why is that the case? So that means you cannot substitute large for big here. Okay, and why is that? So because you would see that big has a very specific sense, that is being grown up or elder, and that sense never applies to the word large. Okay, so big has a sense of being older or grown up, but large as such lacks this sense. It does not have this sense. Sometimes there are various shades of meaning, and some words are being preferred to use than other words. Like when you are talking about what is the cheapest first class fare, you will prefer to say fare than price. Okay. Sometimes there are collocational constraints. So with some particular words, only one word goes, not the other one, even if they have very similar meanings. For example, before mistake, would you like big mistake or large mistake? Generally, big mistake is preferred. So here is a sentence. So we frustrate them, and pretty soon they make a big mistake. Okay, and you would not substitute large here. So large mistake is not collocational, but big mistake is collocational. Okay, so because of language usage also, some words are preferred to be used than others. So they cannot be substituted at all places, probably in some places. Now coming to the next relation, that is antonyms. So here I say that, so what is the general notation or general definition of antonyms? Two words, if they are entirely opposite to each other, they are opposite to each other. But here is something interesting about antonyms. So two words are antonyms if they are completely so we say that they are having very opposite meanings. But in general, if you look closely, they will have very related meanings, but they are opposites only in one particular aspect. So let's take one example. So like hot and cold. Okay, so do you call them, are they related or are they very different? So as such they are related. They both talk about temperature, yes, but they are at the opposite ends of the extreme. So you will say, okay, it's cold one extreme and hot is the other extreme, but as such both talk about temperature. And suppose you try to use the distribution semantic method that we tried in the last week to capture if two words are antonyms. It might become very difficult because they would occur in very similar contexts. Yes, so hot and cold would occur with words like weather, yes, temperature, and so on. So what we are seeing in antonyms, they are having very similar meaning, but they are opposite only in one aspect of the meaning. So, like dark and light, short and long, okay, hot and cold, up and down, in and out. They are opposite only in one aspect, otherwise they are similar. So, more formally we can say that antonyms can define some sort of binary opposition or at opposite ends of a scale. So, like long and short, hot and cold, fast and slow, and be reversives like rise and fall. Now, coming to another important relation, that is hyponyms and hypernyms. Now, what are hyponyms and hypernyms? So, they are relations between a subclass and a superclass. Okay. So formally we say one sense is a hyponym of another if the first sense is more specific and it denotes a subclass of the other. So, example here is like car. Car is a subclass of vehicle. So, we can say that car is a hyponym of vehicle. Similarly, dog is a subclass of animal. So, we say dog is a hyponym of animal, and mango is a hyponym of fruit because mango is a type of fruit. Now, just the other way around, the relation would be called hyponym. So, I say mango is a type of fruit. So, fruit is a superclass. So, mango is a hyponym of fruit and fruit is a hypernym of mango. Okay. So, conversely we can define the hypernym relation also. So, vehicle is a hyponym of car, animal is a hyponym of dog, and fruit is a hyponym of mango. And these are some of the relations that we will see very closely. So, how do we use hypernym relation for extracting various meaning related facts among entities? So, with hyponyms we can also define some formal criteria. So, for example, entailment. If I say that sense A is a hyponym of sense B, that means being an A entails being an B. For example, I say dog is a hyponym of animal, dog is a subclass, animal is a superclass. So, being a dog entails being an animal. Yes, if some entity is dog, it is an animal. So, it will have all the characteristics of animal also imposed on that. And but you cannot say the other way around, that if something is a animal, it will also be dog. This is not valid. So, if A is a hyponym of B, I will say being an A entails being in B. You can also define the transitivity relation, that is, if A is a hyponym of B, B is a hyponym of C, then A is also a hyponym of C. That is also very trivial condition on hyponyms. So, entailment and transitivity. Now, we can also define other relations like meronyms and holonyms. So, meronym is some sort of asymmetric transitive relation between senses. What is that? So, I will say X is a meronym of Y if X denotes a part of Y. So, it is not symmetric. So, example is, so here porch is a part of house or wheel is a part of car. So, to define the part of relation, I say wheel is a meronym of car, leg is a meronym of chair, nose is a meronym of face, and the other way around relation is called holonym, that is, face is a holonym of nose, car is a holonym of wheel, and so on. So, now so we saw what are the different relations that you can define among lexical entities. So, now what are different lexical resources where these relations are nicely captured. So, where you can find out what entities are related by the relation of hyponym, hyponym, and meronym, and use for different tasks or application that you want to build. And that is what we will see in the next lecture, when we will have our discussions on what is the structure of WordNet and how are all these relations defined in WordNet, and how you can use that to capture various semantics like whether these two words are related or not and to what degree, and that will be the topic for the next lecture.